Drago,
What's up, baby?
what's going on, man? We had a little holiday break, didn't we?
Dude, I'm glad the holidays are over. Be clear.
I did get a very nice holiday card from you, though.
Yeah? Did you
Yeah,
like that?
your family makes you look better than you actually look. Don't have other people
The,
stand next
the,
to you and you look better.
the funny part of that card is where we went and took pictures. Like we got there and then like it just started gusting wind like 50 miles an hour. So we were like, oh my, we didn't know how those were going to turn out, but they
Well,
worked
the
out.
hair gel looked tight. Looks like
It,
you were
it,
locked and loaded on the hair.
it did. My hair was tight.
Well, Happy New Year, guys, and followers and listeners. We are so excited for our guest today. Just a super powerful story. Somebody that many of you might know. And we're just going to let him roll and kind of share his story. But this is the Third Chance Foundation. We are here to help people that have come out of their rock bottom or facing their rock bottom or know somebody facing their rock bottom. We're all about getting help, creating a community because we believe addiction is a disease just like cancer. And unfortunately, in our society, it has not been treated this way. You're shamed, you're guilted, you're made to feel that you're less. And all three of us know, being former addicts and I believe always being an addict and having to put guardrails on yourself, that it is a disease just like cancer, and all the cancer patients get the special bracelets and everyone rah-rahs. And that is very, very rare when you have a friend, a family member, a spouse, a kid, a child, a loved one facing addiction. So we're here to break that stigma, and we believe in doing that through sharing our stories, and making our stories hopefully be inspirational to those out there that need the help. So I'm Chad. My rock bottom was a cocaine addiction. I lost a business during the financial crisis, spun out of control with $330,000 of debt, and buried my head into cocaine, alcohol, and chasing women. Thankfully, I found Christ. I found my wife, Kristen, and I found treatment. And it saved my life. And I'm here today with three beautiful children, a thriving business, and some great friends. So
Let's go.
my rock bottom was 2000, January 18th, 2010. It was at the height of my addiction and drug use, and thankfully, my dog saved me from not taking my life at that moment, and flushed the drugs away, found God, and most importantly, found a community and help to bounce off that rock bottom. How about you, Mr. Dragovich?
Yeah, baby. Hey, Jeff Dragovich, I'm an opioid addict, a severely horrible opioid addict. My rock bottom was I OD'd in front of my kids, and luckily I woke up September 18th, coming up on 6 years. So super grateful for everybody watching out there. We do this because we want to get the message out that addiction. You're not a shitbag. You're a good person. We can get through what we're trying to do. What we were going to do today is we had through from our buddy, so Brock, one of our number one episode that we had. Brock from the Fentanyl Project connected us with this boy Colin, who freaking great Instagram following, and he connected with me, and he looks like an opioid addict as well, and so we wanted to bring him on and share his story as well. Colin, what's up, dude?
What's up? How are you guys?
Dude,
Yeah,
blessed.
I love the stories, man. It's really cool what you guys are doing, and I couldn't agree more with everything you guys are saying. I think the more awareness we spread to show people it's not that big of a deal, is get back on your feet and just spreading awareness. It's huge. So, congrats what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
So, Colin, in motocross, have a big event. Just tell us a little bit what you have going on this week, and then take us back a little bit from your through your journey. I know, just in the motocross world and having that fame and celebrity that you have. Talk a little bit about how that affected your drug use and addiction. And man, we're just gonna let you roll and tell your story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because when I tell my story, it's like it's hard to kind of stay on track. So I do tend to get off track a little bit because I've had so many rock bottoms, so much crazy stuff happen. But yeah, I grew up in Moore Park, California with great family members. My story, I didn't have a horrible childhood, why I turned to drugs or anything like that. My had great parents. perfect suburban neighborhood. I was just good family, good everything. I was like every normal kid trying to find out his passion, playing soccer, baseball, every sport as kids do. And yeah, my dad took me to, it was called Mickey Thompson Off-Road Race
At
it
Anaheim.
was truck racing at
Yep.
Anaheim back in the
Yep.
day. It was a big deal, and it was so badass. It was before we go to baseball games, and this was
Yep.
something totally foreign. And during the halftime, they had a supercross race, and back in like 91, whatever. But I just remember when I saw those dirt bikes come out, the smoke, the noise jumping through there, it changed me. It like really changed me. That's all I wanted to be. That's all I wanted. That's everything was my life just revolved around a dirt bike. For the next couple years, bugging my dad, cutting pages off dirt bike magazines, sticking them all over the house. Just everything was about motocross. And I didn't get one for a while. And the next best thing, got into BMX racing. My dad got me a BMX bike, and I was a kid at the track with a full dirt bike helmet, not a bicycle helmet. So I just remember guys clowning me, making fun of me at the BMX track, but it was never about BMX. I pretended I was on my dirt bike, and I got good at BMX, raced every weekend, had a can on my front tire to make it sound like a motorcycle. And just that kid. It was just I just wanted a dirt bike. And remember, my dad took me out of school. He said I had a dentist appointment, and he said we had to go home to get something really quick. Open the garage, and I swear there was rays of light. I could hear the godly music, and it was an 85 YZ80, and that day changed my life forever. They got my first dirt bike. It was the coolest thing ever. And so that's kind of where it started for me. And then yeah, it was a family sport. My dad and me just going to every track around California, got into racing. I was really never that good when I got into it. Like, we started from the ground up. Like, I had construction boots because we didn't know you had to have motocross boots. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was growing into this motocross thing. We like figured it out as we were going. And yeah, that just for the next 5, 6 years, just every weekend at the dirt bike track. That's all I wanted to be when I grew up, was a pro dirt bike rider. And in this time, I always try and figure out how to say this, because if you're not a motocross guy, you don't get it. Motocross was a very corporate, like, guys, shirt tucked in, thumbs
Yep.
up, thanking the sponsor, very like, I don't know the word. It was just not very rebellious, whatever. And then this movie, Crusty Demons of Dirt, came out, and this showed this different side of motocross with the chicks partying, jumping, not like just practicing at the track all day to like get my fast laps in to win the race. It was like going out in the desert, jumping 100-foot jumps. It was just like crazy. It was the motley crew of dirt bikes. And I just
Right.
wanted to do that. I'm like, that, I just want to go big as I can on my dirt bike, show off to people. And then I don't know, that was like my new destination. And then from there, I got started to get really a lot better at dirt bikes. Started to like, I was the guy doing the biggest jumps at the track. And
Yep.
then I would start to mimic. I wanted to be like this guy Seth Enzo. I just wanted to go as big as I can on my dirt bike, like the Evil Knievel. And started racing and got pretty good, but I never cared about coming in first place. I just wanted to find the biggest jump on the track and do tricks in front of the crowds. And like, my name started to get kind of big. Like, dude, this guy's gonna go for the biggest jump. And like, and at this time, the sport freestyle motocross wasn't even a thing. I was just going big everywhere. And then I remember Seth Enzo. This was the star in the Krusty movie,
Yep.
and they showed up at a track, and I couldn't believe it. It was like seeing, the president or God in front of my eyes. I go, Dad, that's Seth Enzo. I can't believe it.
Yep.
So, and it was a cool deal for my dad. He knew how like big these guys were in our sport, and they saw me going huge at this one huge jump at the track, and they came up to me. They're like, "Who are you?" And we connected, and they came up to my dad, and they're like, "Hey, we want to see if we can bring your son on our next film trip." And that is kind of where it all started. I remember it was the biggest thing in my life. I got to go on a film trip with the guys from Crusty Demons of Dirt and my childhood hero, Seth. And yeah, I remember the next month, my dad signed me off to these guys. He was pumped. It was a big deal to be with these guys. And yeah, I did a film trip, and then I think a year later, the very first freestyle motocross contest was in Orange County. There's one actually before it, but it was like one of the first ones. And I feel there at the right time. I was had this style. I was going big, and I got invited to that. And then it feels like overnight, the sport of freestyle motocross blew up,
Yeah,
blew up,
Yeah.
you know. And then the next couple months, I got entered into X Games. And then it feels like the sport of freestyle motocross, it literally blew up overnight, where I went from this 16-year-old kid going to the races with my dad,
You were
going to,
16
hanging.
at this time.
Yeah, yeah. And I really elevated. There's 5 years that I really just riding, racing every week. And then yeah, it just kind of started from that. And then, after X Games, this sport blew up. It feels like overnight I went from this kid hanging out with my friend like normal kids, going to the high school parties, going to football games, doing all this normal stuff. Now I'm literally traveling the world. I have this name, like just blew up. Now I'm like this guy that everybody like wants my autograph. We're traveling. We're like this huge thing, like literally overnight. It was crazy. And then yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I want to get into. It's just so much. This thing, the Metal Militia started.
Right.
And it was like the bad boys of freestyle motocross. We were the
Yep.
dudes, like it was like the Hells Angels of freestyle moto. And I kind of fit that image at the time. And I got into the Metal Militia. There's this thing called the Vans Warp Tour, where
Yeah.
we had our own tour bus every single day. We were jumping in front of 20,000 kids, jumping over my childhood hero, the bands, Pennywise, No Effect. It was a punk rock music festival, but all these bands were it was the bands I would listen to every day to get pumped up to
Yeah.
riding. It was crazy. It was all my favorite bands. And now they're like tripping that we're there. We're jumping over them. So now they love us, but they don't know that we love them. It was crazy. So now I'm best friends with my music heroes. We got our own tour bus. And in starting this, drinking, when I was with my dad, I never drank, never smoked. But then as I went on that first trip, that's when I saw like this guy smoking out of this glass thing. What is that? And then, like I remember I took my first bonger, and then I almost felt like it was this thing where I was with all these guys. I was the young kid in this crew, like this freestyle motocross movement. It was me and my buddy Twitch. We were the young kids. So, we were always, drinking, started smoking weed a lot because we had to kind of hang with all these other guys that were way older than us. And you get put on this pedestal, like my
Sure.
job now is I go jump my dirt bike 100 feet, showing up to all these people, signing autographs after. Every chick wants us. It was crazy. It was just this rock star lifestyle. So none of it was a big deal. We got praised for partying. The harder we blacked out on our tour bus and fucked up a lot of shit, people were like, "Dude, that's so
Yeah.
rad! You did it!" It was like we
Yeah.
got praised for it. And I don't know. The sport of freestyle blew up. The next 10 years, traveling the world,
Yeah.
blowing up. My name got huge. With all of us did. We were like on TV shows, movies, video games, all this stuff. We just
Right.
elevated this sport. Every week was a new trick. I started going really big. I started my name in the sport. I was like the guy known for going for the biggest jumps that nobody else would do. So it's like an evil Knievel type of a life, like when you're jumping the gnarliest shit, jumping like 200-foot jumps after staying up all night partying, you're not going to the club sipping a martini. You're going there. And now it's like I can go blackout, smash bottles, and everybody still wants to like do anything they can to hang out with you and party with you. And like you're getting invited. It was nuts. It wasn't like a real life, is what now I see it. It was this like crazy rock star life, and it just kept on going. The harder I partied, the bigger my name would get. And then this thing in freestyle came about, the backflip. That's when this whole sport changed, because now guys are starting to do backflips over 100-foot jumps. And like overnight, if you didn't do the backflip, it's like your name
You
was
were
kind of
obsolete.
dying out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I still had a name in the metal militia.
Right.
So, I carried my name. I was still getting invited, but I tried a backflip in a foam pit. I was just sketched. It wasn't my thing. Because I didn't get into freestyle to win contests and be like, I'm gonna practice my runs and do good. And I wanted to be like Seth. I just wanted to go big, party, and like be the guys in the movies. So I kind of rebelled against wanting to progress and do better at the contest. So I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm just gonna be like that evil Knievel dude. I'm just gonna go for the big shit and just stay in my lane. And as all the guys progressed in freestyle motocross, they're becoming millionaires, buying houses, and within the next 10 years, like I was going up, but then it got to a point where the partying just got out of control. And I don't know how to mix all the partying because so much shit happened,
Well,
like
that scene
getting
was
in.
wild. Like that's I don't think people understand like that scene back in the early 2000s. Like it was gnarly, like wide open all the time, every freaking day, right? I mean,
Yeah, no, I remember like X Games, just staying up all night, doing ecstasy, doing coke, waking up and still riding, doing X
yeah,
Games the next day, and in this time, cocaine became a thing.
Yeah.
Pills, if anything, like anything came to us, we would do it. And we would like the big thing would like, let's see how much we can do it. Let's see if we could stay up all night and then still get on our bikes and show people like fucking watch this. You want to see something gnarly? Watch what we're
Yeah.
gonna do. Just always pushing the envelope. And it got crazy. I mean, in this time, I got my spleen taken out. I broke my ankle, got metal in my ankle, dislocated shoulders, broke my jaw where all my teeth went straight back, concussions. And like every time you go to the hospital, you get pain pills. And, but when I would get hurt, it was like such a green light. Like, yeah, I don't have to like risk it. I could just chill. I'm still getting paid from sponsors because now everybody knows, oh, I'm hurt. That's part of the game. You break a bone, so whatever. And then, in this whole time, let's just say 10-year period of this lifestyle, I never knew I was an addict because I realized I was on something or partying every day,
Yeah.
and then when all my friends really were progressing so much, I was really starting to go, I wasn't progressing. I would start to plateau, just do enough stuff to get through a next jump show or contest or do the next event overseas, whatever. And then yeah, it really got to me when everyone's progressing so much. And yeah, I don't know. It's so hard because like I had 2 DUIs in this span. I had so many rock bottoms in this span. I got onto meth for a little bit. I was never the guy, I'm going to stay up for 7 days, nothing like that. Do it for like a day or two, get off it, stay on Xanax for the next 3 days, do coke, then maybe back to meth. It was always like I'd always do just enough where I could like ride and get through the stuff I had to do, but always partying, always on something. And then I think a big turning point I would say is I remember snorting my first Oxy 80 back in the early 2000s when those things blew up.
yep.
And I remember snorting one and I threw up right after. I'm like, oh my God. But I'm like, an hour after, I'm like, wow, I love that feeling. And that's when I was never the guy where I had to like go and like go buy drugs. It was always people like being pumped to like, hey, I'll give you this if you could like sign a jersey or get this. So I was always getting shit so easy. Like it was always stuff coming my way, which is no excuse, but it was just very easy for me to get whatever I wanted. And then got into oxys a lot. And I feel at that time that's when I wasn't that kid where my dad picked me up to get my first dirt bike and that's all I wanted to be was a pro dirt bike rider. And it was such like a father and son moment. I just wanted to become a pro dirt bike rider. And I was like, my love turned into oxys. And that went on for a while. And that's when I really started to go downhill, still doing what I had to do. But it was like now it was all about oxys, like no matter what. And my buddy got me a doctor in the valley where he's like, yeah, you show him your injuries, you can get 125 Norcos, 80 Somas, and 125 Xanax every 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh my, this is amazing. This is the best thing ever. And that lasted for a while. And I got to my tolerance was so high, but at this time it was like, it was just so much. It was crazy. I was going through all those pills every 2 weeks, and it was like Christmas Day when I'd go refill my prescription. And my best friend, one time we went down there and it was like an hour and a half ride home, and he was snoring in the back. He'd always do this when he would take a lot of pills, and like he'd always come to. But when we got home, my friend was driving. I was in the front seat blasting music, and we got home and he was stiff as a board and he OD'd and died in the back of the truck.
Wow.
And it was crazy. And no, it didn't really like phase me because I was so numb to the drugs, but it was a big deal. He was my best friend, and it was like, it was crazy. No, it was not an eye-opening experience. Like, dude, I need to get my shit together. I can't believe that. It was more like after all this shit kind of subsided, it was like, all right, well, I need to go get his pills because now, that's kind of what I was thinking. It was crazy. It was you're you're in such a psychotic. It was just all about the drugs. And then we were filming a Metal Militia TV show at the time, and Brian Deegan called me, said, "Hey, come over tomorrow. We're gonna film like we always did. We did it like twice a week." And I got in there and it was an intervention. It was like everybody, but it was all the guys, all the pro like legends of our sport. My favorite band, the Pennywise, it's his punk band. They were there. They drove like 2 hours to be in this intervention. And I got in there sad. I thought we were filming our show and it was just dead quiet. And it was crazy. I'm like, and at this time without social media, I didn't know anything about sobriety. I didn't know like,
Right.
I feel like it wasn't a thing. Like there wasn't much knowledge about recovery. I didn't look up to anybody that like got their life back being sober and like you could even get sober. I didn't even know that was a thing. And they're like, dude, we can get you to rehab. We know your best friend died the other day. Like you're gonna die. And it was gnarly seeing everybody come together. And I talked my way out of it. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna turn around. I forgot what I said, but anyways, I stayed at my buddy's house. My buddy said he's gonna watch over me, and I found out where his pills were. It was just it never got better. I had multiple seizures, getting off Xanax in the next couple months. Nothing got better, and then I lost the relationship I was in. We had a house, and had a condo, then had an apartment, then I was living at some person's house, renting a room. It just like started to lose everything quick to the
Yeah.
point I'm trading my painted helmets for shit because now I'm not getting those phone calls to be at this jump show. It's like people knew it was like he's
The
gonna
gig was
die.
up.
The gig was up, yeah, and it got so bad, and to the point I traded. And this time I started smoking black tar heroin because I couldn't get the oxys. That's when they
They
banned all
reformulated them.
oxys. Yeah, you couldn't snort them anymore. So whatever. I got into black tar heroin. That lasted for 2 years to the point I lost everything, lost my sponsors. At one point, I traded like all my medals and like all my memorabilia that meant so much to me.
Right.
Traded it all. And I just remember one time my friend he was doing dust off. I'm like, what is that? Like, and I remember I did it and I couldn't even afford to get black tar heroin or opiates. So I got into doing dust off, and I realized that didn't make me dope sick off the heroin if I would get high enough on this. And I did that for like a couple months, and that couple months was worse than any of the meth, coke, opiates, Xanax, anything. It like screwed me up so bad to the point I was like, because I realized you can get it in Target, Best Buy, CVS. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like it's so cheap. I can get it anywhere. I mean, when I go into Best Buy now, I still get triggered by the smell. It's crazy. I remember seeing the show Intervention where somebody was addicted to dust off, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how does that even happen? And I turned into that person where I
Wow.
was passing out in Target, passing out in Best Buy. I remember I got arrested for stealing it, and I don't steal. I don't like, even my whole time, I've never been into like, I wasn't a bad person. I always had a big heart, like I just wasn't a stealer or anything like that. And the cop knew who I was. He felt so bad for me. He's like, dude, I know who you are. Like, had this heart to heart talk in his cop car, dropped me back off at my house. And Yeah, I just remember I was so fucking low when he dropped me off. Like, if I had a gun, I would have shot myself 1,000% to the point I was like trying to huff the gas out of my dirt bike. And it was so low at this point because, like, I'm doing huffing out of my dirt bike, but this dirt bike was this thing that was so big when I was a kid. And now, like, I don't even care about it. I'm trying to get high off the gas and I broke. The whole time
Just
I lived.
robbed every bit of joy you ever had in
Everything. And
everything.
I was always lying to my parents because I lived like 2 hours away and that I broke, called my dad, like crying, like I can't do this. I'm gonna die. He didn't know how bad it was, and he came down and it was just like a really emotional time because he saw his son. He had no idea how bad it was, and he just thought he was gonna lose his kid. And yeah, I went back to my dad's house at age 30 after having this huge life of 10 years,
Career
like
changing
pulling it, making a name for
accomplishments.
myself,
Right.
accomplishing all my dreams. And then I'm back in my childhood house, my childhood room at my dad's with nothing. And then he was trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. And I don't know, like the next week, I still was signed for Metal Militia. They knew how bad, but I was like one of the big guys at Metal Militia. So I had to go down to go sign a contract. And it was like 3 hours away. And I drove down there. On the way home, it took me like 8 hours to get home because I was like stopping at every Best Buy, Target to like get dust off. It was like nuts, crazy, the craziest shit ever. And then remember when in Target, I was in the parking lot, and the next thing you know it, I was in the middle of an intersection. I hit somebody like head on. It was in the middle of an intersection. I just saw I sideswiped a bunch of cars, hit a semi, and everybody was so chaotic, people screaming. I didn't kill anybody, thank God. Like, I pray on my knees every night, and I know God has a purpose for me because how I didn't kill anybody. But the only thing I could think about when I was on the curb was I had dust off in the back of my truck. That's how like sick I was, and like it was all about that. That's the only thing I could think about. All the damage, it was like something out of a movie. The chaos I just started, and dust off, the high is very quick. So I looked sober at the time. So nobody thought I was messed up. And the cop that pulled me over did field sobriety test, but he knew something was up. And he found the dust off, went to Twin Towers jail. And my dad couldn't believe it because he's like, I thought you were here to like get your life. I don't know. He didn't know about rehab or like all this. And
Yeah.
this is when, because I was still bullshitting my way, like, I can do this on my own. That's when he's like, oh my God, like this is not what I thought. And then I went to rehab the next day after getting that DUI. I didn't kill anybody. And yeah, I went to rehab 2012, and it
And it stuck.
was
You went to rehab one time and it stuck after that long road from just getting fucked up all the time.
no, it didn't.
Okay.
No, not at all.
I
I
was be
got
like,
out.
damn, bro, what? Let's
Yeah, no,
go.
and I remember I like first time I remember the first day and the rehab. I had the best experience of my life in rehab. Best experience because everything was new to me. Everything. I remember the first day, and I like after the 30 days, I bugged my parents like I want to stay in sober living, like the community, doing things over. I really thought I was reborn. I didn't even know that person, like with a name, doing all this stuff. I didn't even care about that. I was just like getting out and going on a run the first day. It was like everything was so magical. I've never been sober for, I think, 14 years. I was never sober. I never could see things clear. And it was like, it was nuts. And
We're
then,
talking the run was like 98 to 2012. This all
yeah, yeah, it was a long time for
at the
sure.
height of your performance, at the height of your fame, Metal
Yeah,
Melissa taking off. I know you and Twitch, helped take that off, and that whole time you were in that addiction.
the
Which is
whole
crazy, bro.
time.
You literally created a fucking sport. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no, it was all of us. It was crazy. It was cool. For 4 or 5 years, we were really doing it. And yeah, and at this time, I'm in rehab with nothing in my name. All my friends that I started with, where I was like, most of them, I was above them level wise, and now they're $1 million homes. I lost it all. I could have had everything. Obviously, that wasn't my journey in life. And then for the next 5 years, dude, got my life back. Things were coming back. Got my first car again. Got a job with a buddy. And then I got my first dirt bike again. And then I was just riding this pink cloud, you know, it was amazing. Starting to get sponsors again. And then everybody saw it. This when social media came out, starting to get big with that. And I would talk about sobriety a lot, talking about like how low my life got. And like everybody saw me getting my life back every day and like reaching out, helping other people. And then I started a podcast talking sobriety because I was so passionate about like how rad being sober was. I was having the best time of my life, you know, like being sober, running every day, working, riding. And then, yeah, my name in the sport started to get really big. But now for being this positive influence and
Let's
helping
go.
people, and then Recovery Tape Magazine, it was this big thing that came out, and I was like the head guy where I got to interview like Nikki Sixx. I mean, every top celebrity, I was like the guy interviewing. So then my name got big in like the sobriety world, and I knew what to say. But here's the thing, I was not doing anything for myself. I was always giving back, getting people
Yeah.
into rehab, preaching, but I was never doing any work because I'm like, dude, this is like, it's everything's so good being sober. I'm not gonna relapse. No way. Look at all this stuff I got coming my way, you know, like I'm helping people. I got everything back in my life. Everything's going up. And then, yeah, I bought my first house, just really going big in my life. And then, yeah, something happened in my life, which I don't want to talk about, but it was really traumatic and really huge. And at the time I would have like sworn like, dude, if anybody went through what I did, like you would have relapsed, like it's just what it is. That's like what I thought. But like what I know now is if I would have had a sponsor, going to meetings, doing the program, no, I didn't, nobody had a gun to my head. You know, I
Yeah.
chose to call that guy, get his sack of heroin. And I'm like, I'm just gonna do it for just to numb this pain for a couple days. And then, you know, that lasted. And then when that ran out, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do it for till this week. And then it just went on. And but here's the thing, I was getting paid from Recovery Tape Magazine, had my podcast, helping people, still having to show up twice a month to interview this big star in recovery. And like,
And you were high?
so yeah, and I had to figure it out. I had my own business. I took over my dad's fire protection business, blown up. But at this time, it wasn't about like partying, going so big. Look at me. It was like, no, I had to do it where nobody could know.
Yep.
And now it's like, I don't know how I got myself here where I am on drugs again. Everybody is getting praising me for getting them sober. So proud of you for helping out my kid. Love what you're doing in the Recovery Tape Magazine, all this stuff. And I did not know what to do. And I had the biggest lie. Everybody, all my friends, are so proud of me for turning my life around. And I fell back and my ego was so big. I didn't know what to do. I remember at night crying, just like so low, having this monkey on my back, and I didn't know what to do. And it's
Came and
very
go,
hard when
right?
you're like, when you're in the spotlight talking about sobriety and doing this shit without putting the work in all this, because you're like really high up here. I just feel I'm trying to figure out how to say it. If I just would have got clean, nobody knew, you know, if I relapsed, it would have been a lot easier coming out. But like, it was just felt so big that I couldn't tell people. I could not let people know. I didn't know in my head at the time. I don't know how to do this. So I just kept the lie going until I was going to figure out how I was going to get off it on my own. And I was always trying like, all right, I'm going to take 2 Roxys, and I would never get high. I was very a functional addict. I would never get high where I'm drooling or
Yeah.
doing chin ups, you know. I was just like going to work, doing just enough not to get dope sick. All right, I'm gonna try this soma, half a soma tomorrow. When I start to feel dope sick, I'll do that. All right, that didn't work. I'll just this crazy shit trying to figure out how I'm gonna get off it without telling anybody.
Right.
And one day I was going to work. I met up with somebody. I wanted to try like break off a little piece of his Xanax when I'd get dope sick and like see if I could like wean myself off that because I knew I couldn't do it with the opiates. Like they're just too hard. And then, dude, I woke up in jail in all my work clothes and
Wow.
woke up. And this is like, I'm telling you, God is on my side. And just, it's so nuts, all the destruction I did and like how I didn't hurt anybody. But I was in my work van. It's so hard to talk about like how I could have killed somebody. That's like in my life now. Why do so much and I'll do anything to give back because I feel like all the people I could have hurt, but I could have been driving 70. I could have been killed, wiped out a family. I was just at a red light and a car was right in front of me and I just rolled into him, and tapped him. And like when I passed out and the cop pulled me over. Funny because the cop that pulled me over, she was at an event a year before praising me because she knew I got my life back. She knew I was like going to like jails and like schools and talking about sobriety. So she knew my story and she couldn't believe it. She's like, what? I can't. She couldn't believe it. And then woke up in jail and it was the scariest thing in my life. I didn't know if I just killed somebody. The next day they told me I got a DUI, which was my fourth DUI. And yeah, and then I went back to rehab after that. And this, I had to come clean and people couldn't believe it. They had no idea. And here's the thing, I went to rehab for 30 days. And I feel in rehab, you don't really get to put a lot of work in 30 days. I was doing the 12 steps, kind of 1 foot in. This is like the time I like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to like put the work in. But this time didn't have a sponsor, kind of only doing it 1 foot in, 1 foot out, got out, relapsed again right after, like within 5 months.
Yeah.
Fucking people like are just giving up at me this time. And then I went right back to that rehab and now like tail between my legs. I couldn't believe it. This time I went for 90 days. Yeah, and I had to do it all in. And yeah, I got out. I really working on myself. Um, Met my fiance now, which is it's a God thing. I can do a whole podcast on that, but how she's such my angel.
Mm.
She knows so much about recovery, and we're just so open about all this. She's helped me so much in recovery. She's not an addict, but she had addicts in her family. So she's just like such a sponsor and like supporter. And then going to meetings, and then I found Brock, and I'd have such a tough time trusting people because my whole life people always wanted to hang out to like be part
Be
of the
around you.
crew, come to, yeah. So it was
Latch
just so
onto the
hard.
celebrity, go on
Yeah.
the ride, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard for me to trust people. And I had sponsors in the past, but it just I never could like, how do I gotta trust this guy? I don't know. And then like I'd find a sponsor and then he'd like know what I'm doing. And then like, hey, I want to come to the just I never had the right one, obviously, because a real sponsor shouldn't give two
Two shits
fucks
for
about
you.
that,
Yeah.
And then I found Brock at Supercross, and he's the only person I've truly been open with, and like I just respected him. And you guys know who he is. He's been on the show, but he just
Yeah,
like was
twice.
something else. He didn't like go by the guidelines, and I just understood everything he preached. I like for once it resonated with me. It was the only thing that's ever opened up where I felt I could like open up. And then yeah, I've been working with him for going on 2 years. We talk every day at 6. I follow his lead. I know I'm kind of summarizing all this because like a
No,
lot
it's
happened, but
beautiful, man.
I found him. I'm doing it, and I didn't talk about sobriety the first year because it was the first time I had to be selfish and like just work on me, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I'd always doing it for the wrong reasons, and didn't do shit for a year, and just yeah, doing the work with Brock. And to this day, we talk every day, putting in the work, and my life is 1000% different from any time before. And I'm blessed I got all the relapses because all that shit showed me so much how fragile it is,
Yeah.
I'm glad I relapsed because it's so fragile. And like even to now, I don't really care how much time you have because it just takes like that and it's over, it's like one
One
day at a
thought.
time. It's just one day at a time, so
I don't know if I've ever heard a story that somebody and a guardian angel is guiding someone's life that was going down a wrong path and just helping you steer just short of catastrophe. I mean, we've never been this quiet just listening.
Yeah, dude. Well, hey, listen, real quick. I'm tripping out. I have this same story. I did
yeah.
all of this same stuff.
Yeah.
My life's completely different from your life, but like I'm like, holy shit, like I did that too. Oh, dude, I went to rehab. My parents had no idea. Like I literally did
Yeah.
all of that because of the opioids. Because that's all I cared about. I just wanted to get high. Like
Yeah.
for me, I could not stop. I had to get on preventative medication, Suboxone, which was
Yeah.
horrible experience in its own, but that helped. But like, dude, it's crazy. Like we have a very, very similar story.
Yeah.
All the same stuff happened to me
All
too.
the same stuff. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter like the pedestal I was on. It doesn't even matter because when you're addicted to drugs, it's all the same. You will rob, burn
Lie,
any bridge
cheat,
down. Yeah,
steal,
exactly.
pillage,
You'll
man.
do. And my story is just about like I wanted to become this pro dirt bike rider, and drugs robbed everything from me.
Mm.
But maybe I'm in this spot. I think about it now. Like people are like, do you wish you would have been sober? I have so many friends that are dead, paralyzed from the neck down in motocross. Like, what if I did a backflip, won X Games, did all this shit, then got paralyzed from the neck down? What if? That's not my story. And where I'm at right now, I got my own business, working with Brock, have the love of my life. I'm like, I feel so rich than anything else. And it's all because of all those relapses, like learning about myself, knowing how fragile being sober is, knowing you gotta put the work in. You can't do it your way. I've tried every which way on my own, every option, every fucking concoction.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You really do need a good team, and you need a sponsor. You need somebody you can be open with. And for me, like I realize ego is the biggest thing. Thinking I'm bigger and badder than fucking I don't need meetings. I don't need to be open. Like ego killed me every time. So
Yeah. Your ego is not your amigo. Do you think
yeah,
like
that's a good one.
for me, like when I finally surrendered to the process of doing the work in recovery, did you feel like that was like that last time you kind of just were like, I okay, here you go. You got
Yeah. With Brock, it's different, how he does it. It's like 12 step base, but kind of like a tactical
yeah.
recovery kind of deal. And it worked for me. So it's like whatever works for you, but I just
Yeah.
know you can't do it your way. So I took his lead. He has 14 years of sobriety. I followed his lead. I wasn't doing it my way this time. We were reading out of the book, doing questions, calling him every day at 6. And it was a big deal for me because it felt like, all right, I'm being open with him. If I have a bad day, I know I can call him. I know I can be open with my fiance. I know I have this bag of tools, which I never had in the past. When something bad would happen, I'm like,
You
oh,
didn't
I'll
have
just
any.
take
You
his
had no tools in the toolbox, bro. You didn't do
nothing. And now I know I got
No
5 things
guardrails, no tools.
no
Nothing.
tools.
I know 5 things I'm going to do if I get triggered. I know 5 people I'm going to call. I know 5 people after those things. I just have a huge tool bag. I got all my friends are, I had a million friends at one time, which I thought, but really I got 4, 5 good friends. And those are my boys that I can count on. And it just feels good knowing I can go to them, and I'm just not doing this on my own, so.
And how
Colin
long have you been sober
Morrison.
for?
Going on 18 months.
Dope.
And
Congrats,
it's
bro.
different. I had like a true 5 years, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even a month. It's like I have the knowledge, I have this, but I don't even care about the time right now. It's like for me, it truly is one day at a
One day at a time.
time
Yeah.
because I know how easy it is that I could relapse tomorrow. It's so different. It's black and white different now, not doing my way and putting myself first before anyone else,
Colin
so
Morrison, you are a beautiful soul, brother. That
yeah,
was
thank you, man. You
just
guys too.
45 minutes of one of the best journeys I've heard. And to just hear you be so relatable and vulnerable. I know you saved and affected a lot of lives today. Guys, we have all been through rock bottoms and we've all had problems with addictions. You can hear it's a celebrity like Colin. It's two guys that have done wonderful things in the real estate world, but we've all hit that rock bottom. And if you know anybody that is facing addiction, that is struggling with mental health, they have to want to change. You can hear Colin in Colin's voice. He had to want to change before he could get from recovery, but it's putting them with people like us. So please DM us. We would be honored if you shared this episode. You can get us on all Spotify, Apple, Google Play. We're on all of it. And we have the resources. And Brock is our friend who we met Colin with, who has the Fentanyl Project. Please, please, please support his cause. We'll put in a link below. We're constantly donating to his cause, and so are our listeners. And just any final thoughts you want to hit us with before we shut down, Colin?
No, I just want
Thank
to
you.
say
Thank you.
yeah, and thank you guys, because I know the first time I went into rehab, I didn't know like anybody could be cool or like you could have a life of sobriety. And I think it's so cool what you guys are doing. You know, for somebody to might look at one of us and like, wow, he's doing it sober. Like, I want to be like him. It's a big deal to have somebody to look up to when you're so broken and you need motivation to want to turn your life around. So it's a big deal spreading awareness, and I back what you guys are doing 100%, and I appreciate you guys.
Man,
Thanks,
we
bro.
love you, brother. Just unbelievable. We will stay in touch. Go ahead and take us out, Drago.
Hey, listen, everybody, thank you for listening. What an incredible story. I say this every episode. We're not doing this to get famous. We do this because this is what fills our cup up. So if you're thinking about possibly getting into recovery, you want somebody to talk to, you need a shoulder to cry on, I would rather take a phone call from you at 3 o'clock in the morning than have to go to your funeral. We are always available. Both me and Chad put our personal mobiles in the comment section. We're literally always available. We got you. You know what I'm saying? So just appreciate you guys listening, and we look forward to connecting with you next week.
Thank you, Colin.
Right on.
Appreciate you,
Thank you
brother.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Be great, man.